Hey, what's up guys? This is Phoenix from Rise Game Vintage here, back with another video. And on this episode, I want to do something a little bit different. I love, vintage items, man. Everything from music to action figures. It's something that I've collected for a while. With going to all these thrift stores, of course we look for clothes, but I picked up a lot of cool stuff along the way. And I thought it'd be a really fun video to show, 5 things of vintage items that you guys can decorate your homes with, man. It could be anything from music to just a bunch more. So I'm really excited about this. I feel like this is gonna be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, you guys, so looking into number 5 on this list, this is something that you can find in any single thrift store, something that's really cool to display and can show, kind of what you're into, and that's VHS tapes. I just have a couple here, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Friday, Poetic Justice. just a few of my favorites. And the cool part about VHS tapes is just, one, the accessibility. Like I said, you can find them in any thrift store, and the art on a lot of the covers, are different. You can display them in such cool ways. As I'm showing here, you guys can see I kind of did something a little bit different here in my display. Like I showed, some on the binding, and then I showed some, of the front cover. It's really cool to kind of display them in different ways, and it's a lot of fun, man. I have, I'll admit, man, I kind of went overboard in the beginning of, with me thrifting and everything, of grabbing VHS tapes. Like, I have a big storage bin. Maybe I'll have to show you guys like my favorite VHS tapes sometime or something, but it's such an easy, accessible item that you can kind of do really cool things with. I actually saw on the internet of somebody who had a clear coffee table and then made the top of their coffee table with all like VHS tapes, covers. And it was really cool to see if you're a big movie buff, or like somebody who's really into, different genres of movies, whether it's horror. I collect a lot of like 90s Nickelodeon things, horror movies, just movies I grew up, loved and watched. And it's really cool to display, man. It kind of shows who you are, what you're into. And yeah, man, so that's gonna be number 5, I would say, VHS tapes. All right, you guys, so number 4 on the list is posters, man. This one here is one of my favorites. I got it from the homie Skylar of Vintage Goods and Garments, so shout out to him. But this is like a wood kind of rock poster. It's really sick. I love old wrestling posters. As you guys can see, I'm big into wrestling, but different posters, man. I have like old movie posters like Blair Witch Project, or a Bartman poster from The Simpsons, like, cool things like that. You can either decide to just hang it up normally with tape, or if you wanted a little bit fancier, on some of these posters, you can frame them, and it kind of gives like a nice aesthetic to whether it's your room, whether it's your vintage room, or even your house. It's really cool to put some of those things on, especially like say if you're big into whatever genre. And again, it shows who you are, man. It shows, like I have some music things, I have like a Lauryn Hill painting, I have, different things like that I like to show off, because it shows like what I'm into. And that's the whole cool part about, showing these vintage items. It shows off, who you are and what you're into. But man, posters are just such a cool thing, and you can find them so cheap. If you're really big into having the exact vintage poster, man, you can find it on eBay like so easy, whatever you're into. And then if you are okay with reprints, man, go to your local, whether it's like a Target, or go to your local record store. They always have reprints of posters, from that era of the 80s and 90s. So go check it out. And yeah, that's gonna be number 4 on the list, is posters. All right, you guys, so number 3, man, it's really simple. It's something that all of us vintage lovers have, and that's vintage t-shirts, man. There's a couple cool ways that you can do this, man. I know some people that, if you wear the t-shirts, obviously, like we all do, you can just nail up a simple, nail on the wall, get a really nice hanger, put it up, and it's a cool display, but also you could just take it down and wear it. Another one is, the homies Austin and Tony, they got like cube shelves and folded up all their t-shirts and put it in there. Again, another cool way that you can display your t-shirts. And then if, I don't know if, maybe I'll have to do a video on it, but obviously, the dreaded words in the vintage community is dry rot. The cool thing that I've seen a lot of people do with dry rot tees is either put it into a shadow box of the graphic and put it on there, especially with wrap tees, or do like a stretch canvas. It's really simple. You just go to Hobby Lobby, get like a canvas, and then stretch your t-shirt over it. And again, it makes art. It makes a cool display piece. So when people think of dry rot t-shirts, man, they think it's just over with, but you can do some really cool things with them. So I'd check that out for sure. But just the simple, the simplicity, I should say, of like your vintage t-shirts, what you already have in your closet, you can put up and make some really cool kind of looks, for your vintage room or whatever, you have kind of going on in your house. But yeah, man, that's number 3. That's gonna be vintage t-shirts. All right, you guys, so number 2 on the list, I kind of clumped all this together, but I'm just gonna say number 2 on the list is vintage toys, action figures, games, even old Wheaties boxes. Here's a couple of my favorites that I actually have on, my display and everything. First of all, we have, I don't know if you guys remember this, but this is the 24 karat gold plated card, Pokemon card. I got Jigglypuff here. I mean, of course, I'd love to get like a cooler one, but that's one of my favorites. I have this Welch's Pokemon Squirtle cup, which is so sick. I mean, just a bunch of toys that you can really, kind of display whatever you're into. So like that's just a couple Pokemon options. As you guys know, big wrestling fan. So as you guys saw and probably have seen in a lot of my videos, I got my Sting figure just chilling up on my boombox. Just chilling out. It's a cool part to the little display. I can sit him down. He's chilling out, listening to music. And then action figures, man. Boxed up action figures, you can do a lot of cool stuff with. If that's like your main collection of what you're really into, I've seen people cover their whole entire walls with action figures. Here's a perfect example of my Shane McMahon with the DX jersey. It's one of my favorites for sure. But man, those things are like just so simple to obtain. You go to like a big one here if you guys are in the city, JC and Hobby. They're really big in action figures. You go there, buy a couple, man, get them on display. And then finally, man, Wheaties boxes, of course, of the 90s. My big thing that I love watching right now is, of course, The Last Dance. I mean, how good is that? But you have Jordan, Wheaties boxes. You can find them online. You can find them a lot in like antique shops and things. And it's another display that like you can just put up. It kind of has that 90s vibe to it. And if you're really into, displaying, different 90s items and everything, like that's just such a big part. And finally, one last thing I wanted to show is, a big thing, of course, I love video games. I don't have my collection anymore, unfortunately. I might have to start that up, especially with being at home. But I mean, I gotta show you guys this last piece here. By far one of my favorites, and you guys have seen it in a previous video. It's the Tommy Hilfiger Game Boy Color. I have that displayed right over here, man. It's one of my favorites. I don't have any games for it right now. Like I said, I sold all my games. Might have to get a couple here soon, but right now I'm just using it as a display piece. And you guys can do that. There's a lot of, cool pieces, like cool, handheld gaming systems, even like displaying, like I've seen people do PlayStation 1 and clocks. Like there's so many opportunities with some of these game systems, and if you're really big into gaming, you can just display it in a really cool way. Even in your game room, whatever you want to do, it's really cool. And yeah, man, toys, action figures, there's just so many opportunities. And again, I'm trying to give you guys accessibility, man. These are things that are out here in all of your thrift stores, record stores, hobby stores, retro gaming stores. It's all out there, man. And these are, different things you can do to display. So yep, that's gonna be number 2, just toys, action figures, things like that. All right, you guys, so wrapping things up with this video, one of my favorite things, and it's going to be the number 1. I had to put it in the number 1 list, and that's music, man. Again, accessible. You can find, music anywhere, whether it's tapes, records, things like that. As you guys see behind me, man, this is my tape collection. This is how I displayed it. I was so happy. I just got this shelf, and I finally have been able to display my tape collection. So I have a boombox right here, man. All my tapes. I mean, anything from, this is just right off the bat, but like Red Hot Chili Peppers, my hip hop section, and it looks really cool. And honestly, I'm really happy as a YouTuber to put it in the backdrop and kind of have that display going. But overall, man, records, there's shelving you can put up and have your records put up. It's really cool options you can do with music. And even if the record doesn't work, just speaking on vinyl for a second, like a lot of these covers are really big, and that's why people are so into vinyl, especially nowadays. You can display it in just such a cool way. And it's just really cool to have these options, just overall, these 5 things I showed you. It's just really cool to have. But yeah, man, music, number 1, of course, without a doubt. I love displaying my vinyl, love displaying my cassettes, of course. And yeah, man, that's probably, top number 1 for me. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for this video. I do want to thank you for tuning in. And what's your guys' favorite thing to display, vintage-wise? Is it music? Is it action figures? Let me know in the comments below. And, I love talking with you guys, so I can't wait to see your guys' response. Again, I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. You can follow me on Instagram at RiseAgainVintage. You can follow anything Rise Again media related or anything that has to do with the content that I produce at Rise Again Create. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and of course Instagram. And yeah, that's going to do it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.